Hey, this is Chris at C Arcades. We're going to go ahead and do an install today on this Jaws LE. This LE is going to be getting outfitted with our new custom 3D collection for Jaws. This is a direct replacement for your right and left lower slingshots on the upper slingshots. Also a direct replacement for your right and left return outlanes. And for your Shark Encounter jackpot board. This is a direct replacement for them. Give you a nice 3D effect. Look really great inside the game. We're also going to be installing our custom plastic protectors for this. This one is for the left slingshot that has the chum bucket cut out in it. This is for the left return lane guide that has for the rifle. You have the one for the right upper slingshot that has the knife cut out, and then the other two for Quint's Challenge and for the Shark Cage lower slingshot. So we'll go ahead and get those installed as well. This will have a full hardware pack that comes with your kit for whatever that you have ordered. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. First off, I'd suggest that you use a couple of towels. Make sure that you're not going to hurt your play field. I'll probably put a lot more out than what I am. The tools that you're going to need. You'll need a 11/32 socket. You'll need a 5/16 socket. You'll need a 5/16 open-end wrench. You'll need a 1/4 open-end wrench. And you'll need a screwdriver. I'm going to have two different bins here, okay? We're going to have a bin of things that are going to be used again, and you'll save from this teardown, and you'll have a bin of garbage that you're not going to use anymore. You can store those wherever you like. So this will separate what you're going to use with your hardware pack that comes with the kit. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by taking out a few number 6 screws for the wire form. That first set gets saved. The washers get saved. The screw does not. Okay. I'll start tearing down this side of the slingshot. The screws do not get saved. The 1/2-inch hex standoffs do not get saved. The nut does not get saved. These 3 small washers that are on top of your plastic, they do get saved. You'll reuse them. These large washers do not get saved. Of course, the rubber will get reused. All 3 of these posts get replaced. The plastics get saved. This is number 2 6/32 screw that gets saved. The washer gets saved. This 1-inch 632 screw gets replaced. The washer gets saved. The screw is discarded. This 3/4 inch hex gets discarded. The 632 post gets discarded. You save all of these small washers. You save these spacers. From underneath, before I started, I disconnected a 4-pin connector from this side, a 4-pin from this side, and a 2-pin from this flasher. That can be done underneath. You simply lift up on the back pegs of the playfield and you can reach in and disconnect it from there. You don't have to flip up your playfield to do that. So this gets taken off for now. Again, you save your spacers. This side you'll have 5 because this front one is a post, it doesn't need a spacer. So you'll have 5 from this side. Then we can go right on over to this side here on the right. You have 2 632 2-inch Phillips and washers. You keep all of that. You have the 2 screws. And the 2 washers. Save those. Here's 2 of 4. So you have a total of 9 for this game. Pull this out. Put that off to the side. These screws, if you are replacing the plastics underneath here, if you're using our custom set that protects that knife that's sticking out the side, if you're using that, then you're going to want to replace these as well. We're putting that in today, so I'm going to replace those. This is the one post on the game that stays. This is an 832. You want to keep that, the large washer underneath it or above it, and the large washer underneath it. You'll keep both of those washers. The 632 nut and post in front of it do not get saved. Discard the nut. Save that smaller washer. Discard the 2 larger washers. You won't need them. This has been disconnected from below. 2-pin connector. Now these hexes get saved. The washers get saved. These screws and bottom washers get replaced. The hex is 1/4, so a 1/4 wrench will fit on it. Just to start them off. Now this, they over bolted it. It's got a It's got a screw, a lock washer, a star lock washer, another washer underneath that. Then you have your flasher, a washer, and a nut. So this is really overkill. We're going to reduce that by one washer, but I'll show you that in a second. Remember, we don't keep the screw and the washer that's connected. We don't need that. We do need to keep this small washer and the hex. This one again, we want to keep the small washer and the hex. Keep those. Discard the screw and washer that's connected below it. So we'll get this one off. This is a 5/16. And there we go. On this we're going to replace, on this we're going to keep the nut, the washer, magnets help sometimes. Keep that washer. And you have this bottom below it. You're going to replace that. Keep the washer. Replace that screw. This is a spacer that went right below this flasher. The 3D has that incorporated into the design, so you don't need that spacer anymore. Pull that flasher off through that little hole there, and you're all set with that. And there's your flasher. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this plastic out of the way. That's not going to get used again. Oh, we still have a post to take off. Let's take the rubber off. Now remember, this is an 8/32 post here that stays. Might as well keep it there with the star. This one is a 6/32. This has to come off and get replaced. This back one here is really just a standoff. You've got the plastic there and a screw that just holds up the back of the plastics, so that can stay. This gets replaced from that back one. So that post gets replaced, the plastic gets kept. So in here, if you went through and did a count right now, you should have 3 2-inch screws. You should have 10 of these large. You're only going to use 9 of them, but you should have 10 that you've saved. You should have 11 of these really small ones. You should have 11 of those in there right now. You should have 9 of these spacers. You should have 1 star, 3 of these standoffs. You should have the 2 hex standoffs that were on the upper slingshot on the right. You should have 1 nut that is 8/32. And 1 nut that is a 6/32. Okay, let's go ahead and get our hardware pack out. Remember, this is a full hardware pack. I believe I need the one for the plastics as well. Let's see what we got here. I have part A, B, C, D. We need to have the D2, which is for the plastics. If you order the plastics, this comes with it. This is parts up for the plastics only. So that's D2. So we've got all of those. We're going to go ahead and start by removing our get rid of pile. We don't need this anymore. Put that off to the side. We're going to start with the, let's start with D, right slingshot, okay? Right slingshot. Inside this bag, you have an 832 post, 832 nut, which we retained it, but you've got another one, new one there. You have 3 632 screws and 3 washers. When you get your kit, this has holes in the bottom for you to be able to use your finger to push them out. There you go. We're going to start with this shark cage. And since I already have my plastic uncovered, it's going to be easier for us to go ahead and do that now. Since I've already uncovered it, that's great. So we have our plastic here. We're going to go ahead and put our washers and our screws through it. You have your replacement screw and washer. One of them goes there. Replacement screw and washer. One of them goes there. Oops. Goes there. You take your existing 2 hexes that you saved and 2 of your small washers. You turn this over. You put a small washer on. Small washer on. Get your hex on there. Your other hex. These are 3/4 inch, by the way. Then you have a 1/4 inch open end. Put that on your hex and you can snug it up. 1/4 inch, snug it up. Okay, this is the lower part of it. Now we're going to go ahead and put the flasher back on, right? We would take the 3rd screw and washer, put it through the center hole. This is where your flasher goes. Take your flasher, put it on. I said that we weren't going to use one of those washers. We won't need it. There's not a ton of meat there, so, and it really doesn't need it just to hold on a flasher. So there you go, your flasher's in place. Use a 5/16 to hold it still, and you tighten it up. All these things are just snug. You don't really have to put a lot of pressure on it. Okay, so there's your lower slingshot. Put your wire back inside. Now you can go ahead and put that through the bottom of the play field. You'll be able to attach that in a few minutes. Now we're going to want to open up. We've already got the package open. So this is for the back. This gets one of your plastics on here. There you go. This is an 832 replacement. 1/4 inch wrench tightens it up. Front one doesn't need it because it's still tight, never got taken out. He's snugged up. I always take out a piece of foam. I have a lot of foam in the shop, and a lot of times I lift these things up and put something underneath it just to keep it out of my way. Makes it so I'm not having to use 15 hands. There we go. Okay. This goes on top of the posts. Get it all the way down, we're good. The front one gets a large washer. This back one gets a small washer. Still gets an 832 nut. And this front one, well, we'll put that on in a second. Let's go ahead and get him on. Go, snug him up. Pull the foam out. He goes down on top of here. Put your other washer on top of it, large washer, and your other 832 nut. That was an existing one. Didn't have to get replaced. And you can snug him up. There you go. And on top of this, we can go ahead and put the top, put the upper playfield. Okay, and this had the extra pieces that came with this other kit. This part D, plastics only. This has 2 screws in it that would be replacements. We already discarded the other screws. So we take 2 of these smaller washers that we saved. That's one of the 11 that you saved. Go ahead and put that through your, put the screw in the washer. Put it through here, right. Let's start him, don't snug him up yet. I'm right-handed and I forget for the camera I gotta use left hand to keep it out of the way. There we go. That part's done. So we're gonna go ahead and do this lower. This is the lane guide. This is for your, this is for Clint's challenge. Clint's challenge right there. And we have his new plastic. Put that right on. Remember, this has the 2-inch screws that get kept, and the washers. Go ahead and get them ready. Now here's how I do this. This is just me. You may have a different method for doing this. This is how I do it. Go ahead and take this, put the screw through. Both screws are through. Flip it upside down. I use 2 fingers to hold it. We put the spacers on. Then we take the LED board and hardware. We put it on. We take your next 2 spacers. We put them on. Okay, then we come around to that side. I've got to go around the camera, you don't. Whoop. Lost one of the washers or spacers. Put him back on. Okay, so I hold it like this. This way I've got it all intact. It's all in place. I let that harness go down inside the hole, and then I put this right on top of where it belongs. This way it's all intact. I don't have to try and fish around to get the screws in or to drop the spacers or anything like that. It's just right where it needs to be anyways. Okay, this one was really easy to get in. You want to watch this too to make sure that it's not getting hung up. If it is, you got to just loosen a little bit, make sure you've got this pulled back enough. There we go. Just to get him out of the way. And he moved freely now. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and open up for the slingshot. This is for the left slingshot over here. Here's the post that we've got for it. This has your new hex standoffs, your new screws, new hex standoff screws, posts, and nut. So all three of these get replaced, and they all three get these parts. So these are already screwed together, so you don't have to take the screw out of the top. You just take it off the post. There we go. Because you have to get the plastic through that. So that's ready. And this back one is fine too. So we put the star up front. Nope. Plastic in the back. Okay, and these are just the standoffs. You put those in the other two. There we go. Tighten those down. Now all of these hardware pieces, whether it's from Stern Standard or whether you get it from Marco or anywhere you get it from, these are simply zinc, and they will break if you wrench them down too far. You'll strip it out or you'll break it. The pieces that they're going into are also zinc. You'll strip it out or you'll break it. So don't snug these up too tight, but just enough to hold your part in place. So he's done. Look at that. And I did not put the rubber on over on this side. I've got to take this back off again. That's my own fault, but I will take care of that right now. Crazy. And I've got to take the top piece off to do it. So we're going to do this really quick. Get back to work again. Hey. I wonder how many people saw that and said, hey man, you're forgetting the rubber. So pretty easy to get this on at this point. Not a big deal. There we go. In place, in place, in place. Here we go. Okay, now we're back on track. So we get the rubber on this one. There we go, that's all set. This one is really tricky to get in, so I'm going to do this one now before I put this back in place and before I do the slingshot for it. This one's a little trickier because it's got 3 prongs to work with. So we're going to go ahead and do that one first. So you get that left return out lane out of the packaging. There we go. And you have your plastic that it goes on. Now, remember, this has a 2-inch screw up front, so we can go ahead and put that through. That'll help hold some of this together. Okay, and then we're going to replace this front screw. We have the left outline bag. We're going to open that up. We have the it was a 1 inch. This is 1 1/4. So we're going to take that and we're going to put one of the washers on it. That goes up front. Now this one, this is where that even with the existing one that came with this, that's a 632 post that goes inside this hole here. It barely grabbed onto anything because they put this through the top of the plastic first instead of below the plastic. So it had even less to grab onto. So there was no way. I'm sure people even have trouble with any plastics on this. I've even seen different advertisements where this thing is lifted up because of that. So this is a lot longer, so it will grab onto this better. It is also got more of a meatier grab up top. So this goes through here. We got to put the washer on there first. Okay, and you can leave this hex on top of it. That's fine. It's going to be up there anyway. So it's like this. You go ahead and put your spacers on. Kind of tough to hold this and get spacers on there. Then you put your plastic on. I'm sorry, your hardware. There we go. Your LED board's on there. Everything is where it needs to be. This last one does not get a spacer. The rest of it does. And you hold these spacers and hold it together. Put that piece down inside your playfield right there. See how the harness goes down in there? And then put these pieces on top of the respective holes. And you still need to have 5 hands in here, so it's kind of tough to get it in place, but you'll get it. This one's missing. This is why you need so much stuff out of the way to get at this one. It's really kind of tough to get it in. So there we go. We got that in, and that in. We are good to go. So we're going to go ahead and at least start this. Start him. Make sure he's in place. There we go. Start him. Okay, we're in business. We go ahead and get this hex in there good. Snug him up. Great. Two-inch screw up front. 1 1/4 screw in back. All of your existing small washers, 3 of them right there. And you have your 5 spacers underneath. Everybody's in place. You're good to go. Okay. Now, you can put this on now. It's not a problem. So you take this out. This is a 832 screw. And you're going to use 2 of your 832 washers that you have already. You can actually put this one back in as well. So that is the 632 with 2 of the washers. Put the bottom washer on first. Screw through the top washer. And this is a 632. So make sure you've got the right one. That you're not trying to put that 832 in there. There you go. He's in place. You can leave him loose until you do the front one. Here's the 832. and 2 of these. 1 underneath. Screw through the second one, and that goes on top and into your hex standoff. There you go. And tighten him up, he's good. Okay, now we have the plastic to put on. We have your new plastic protector. You also have your bottom slingshot right here.
Okay, so we drink to our legs.
You bet it. Okay, so go ahead and put the plastic on. Okay, and then you have your washers. Okay. Okay, and then you put your new standoffs. Now these standoffs are 3/4. These are 3/4 that match this other side. They were 1/2 inch. Okay, so we put our hex standoffs on. And we have our 832 nut. We put that on. And we get our plastic. Here's our tank. And we get our washers and our screws. Put the washer on the screw first. Let's tighten up these hexes first. That'd be great. Make sure they're on nice and snug. There we go. These are 832s. Okay, there's your plastic in. Got one more nut to do. There we go. Okay, so all of your plastics in place. All of your replacement parts are in place for the 3D collection. That completes that part of the install. We do have the board to put on, but this is actually for the Pro model. I do not have any of those right now. Those are being finished up today for orders, but this is going to go on the same way. Your kit, let's see if I have one. This actually has 832s coming from the factory. These go in with 832s and have the circuit board in the back. Looking for one right now. Here we go. Here's one for another Pro. It has 832s in. I've changed those out to 632s to make it a little neater. They go through the board. It's got a spacer in there that's actually part of the board. So it goes through the board, and then you put the nuts on. You've got two 440s and nuts on the back. Then you also have two 440s for down below. That's how it connects to the back of the game. So that's how you put this on. That completes the install on that. This is the same for both the Pro or the Premium. So this concludes the installation of all of this. Now you can go ahead and do cleanup and reinstall your connectors for the LEDs down below. Just lift up your play field and reconnect these 4-pin connectors, reconnect this 2-pin connector, and you are all set.